The United Galactic Coalition, UGC, military ship Ecliptica sailed through the silent void of space, its mission critical. Transport advanced experimental cargo to the distant research colony on Rigel 4. Aboard the ship, the Coalition had assigned its most skilled engineers. Lieutenant Mark Davis, a resourceful human mechanic, and Xylara Fen, an esteemed Farron systems architect. Due to a clerical oversight, or perhaps a cruel joke, Mark and Xylara were assigned not only to the same quarters, but also to a single standard-issue military bed in an already cramped room. The two species couldn't be more different. Humans were known for their adaptability, while Tverans thrived on order and meticulous precision. Neither was pleased about the arrangement. A clash of worlds. Mark slumped into the room, tossing his toolkit onto the floor. "You've got to be kidding me. They really expect us to share this shoebox?" Xylara's slitted eyes narrowed as her bioluminescent tendrils glowed faintly in agitation. Her sleek, scaled form barely fit in the room's confined space. "This arrangement is inefficient and unsanitary. Human living standards leave much to be desired." Mark crossed his arms. "Yeah, well, I'm not thrilled about sleeping next to a glowing space lizard either." Xylara's tendrils flared. "Lizard? Tverans are descended from avian species, not reptiles." Typical human ignorance. Mark groaned. "Fine. Bird. Whatever. Just stay on your half." "Half of what?" Xylara gestured disdainfully at the narrow bed. "This primitive arrangement defies basic ergonomics. Tverans require a resting perch, not whatever this is. Good luck building one. We're stuck with what we've got." First night. The first night was predictably tense. Mark claimed the edge of the bed, hanging precariously off to give Xylara space. Despite their efforts, her elongated limbs and Mark's restless shifting resulted in more than one accidental elbow to the ribs or flick of a glowing tendril in his face. By morning, Mark looked as though he'd slept in a tumble-dryer. Xylara, who needed less sleep, was perched awkwardly on the edge of a chair, her plumage ruffled. "Nightmare of a room aside, we've got a reactor to stabilize today," Mark muttered. "Agreed," Xylara said curtly. "Perhaps your primitive tools can be of some use." Mark grinned despite himself. "You keep calling everything primitive, but let's see how you handle an ion flux coil without duct tape." A test of skill. The reactor repair proved challenging. A freak plasma storm damaged critical systems, leaving the ship vulnerable to power surges. Mark's brute force engineering instincts clashed with Xylara's methodical precision as they raced against time to save the ship. "We need to reroute the coolant flow," Mark shouted. "No, you reckless fool. The surge will overload the thermal regulators." "Precision is key," Xylara barked back. Mark ignored her protests, diving headfirst into the tangle of cables with a spanner in one hand and a soldering iron in the other. The reactor groaned ominously, but to Xylara's astonishment, the haphazard human method worked. "You solved it," Xylara said, her tone a mix of disbelief and reluctant admiration. "Told you," Mark said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Sometimes you just gotta wing it." "You humans are reckless, but effective," Xylara conceded. "And you Tverans are perfectionists, but thorough. I guess we balance each other out." Bonds in the void. Forced proximity gradually softened the animosity between Mark and Xylara. Late-night maintenance shifts turned into debates about engineering philosophies, and shared meals led to mutual curiosity about their cultures. Xylara marveled at humanity's capacity for improvisation. You solve problems as if you were waging war against the machinery. Mark laughed. "That's one way to put it. And you? You treat every machine like it's an ancient art piece." "It is an art," Xylara said earnestly. "Each component must harmonize with the whole. Chaos leads to failure. Sometimes chaos gets results," Mark countered, grinning. Their bickering became less biting and more playful. Eventually, they worked out a system for sharing the bed, with Xylara using a makeshift perch she constructed from spare parts, leaving Mark the mattress. The crisis. During a routine warp jump, the Ecliptica encountered a catastrophic anomaly. A subspace rift tore through the ship, disabling key systems and threatening to destroy them. The only way to stabilize the ship was to repair the damaged warp core in tandem, a feat requiring perfect coordination. You take the left conduit. I'll handle the flow regulators. Mark shouted as alarms blared. Understood. But you must follow my timing precisely. Xylara replied, her tendrils glowing brighter with intensity. The two worked in perfect unison, their combined strengths creating a synergy neither had thought possible. Where Mark's quick thinking patched immediate issues, Xylara's precision ensured long-term stability. The warp core roared back to life just as the rift began to collapse. They collapsed to the floor, exhausted but alive. Not bad for a reckless human, Xylara said, a rare smile flickering across her features. Not bad for a glowing bird, Mark teased, earning a playful jab from her tendrils. Epilogue. By the time the Ecliptica reached Rigel 4, Mark and Xylara had become an inseparable team. Their collaboration earned them accolades from the Coalition, but more importantly, it forged an unlikely friendship. As they disembarked, Xylara turned to Mark. You know, sharing that room wasn't entirely intolerable. Same here, Mark replied, grinning. Guess even humans and glowing space birds can get along. With a flick of her tendrils, Xylara gave a huff of mock indignation. Avian, not bird, but I'll let it slide this time. And with that, the two engineers strode into the future, ready to face whatever the galaxy threw at them, together.